All right, here we are at last with my reboot of the Dark Universe, and this is Darkness Reigns. This phase is called Darkness Reigns, and in here, the monsters have won. The monsters have basically won on all fronts. They have basically monsters are now spreading across the country, the world. Mankind is fighting desperately against them. But with Wolf von Frankenstein's monster army and things like that, and also the other monsters now basically like generals for Dracula. They are now like the undisputed, rulers of the world. So anyway, so let's get started with this first film, and that is the Invisible Agent. In here, the U.S. government has found a way to create a more synthetic version of monocaine that will not drive the agent insane. So they've now employed a one of their best soldiers to fight Dracula and try to assassinate him. And that person, just for shits and giggles, I would say, his name is Jack Arnold, a reference to the 1950s director for Universal for such things as Creature from the Black Lagoon and things like that. So Jack is basically sent to go try to assassinate Dracula, but along the way he does battle with Jack Griffin. He's like, one Jack to another, there's only room for one Invisible Man. So the two do battle, and the Invisible Agent does kill Griffin. Yeah, he kills Griffin, and as Griffin's dying, he's like slowly turning visible again. And that's when we also discover that Zofia was the one funding this experiment, and while he wasn't Dracula managed to get away, the Invisible Agent joins Van Helsing and Zofia. So now we come to next film in the franchise, Ghost of Frankenstein. In here, the Frankenstein monster and Wolf von Frankenstein are basically delving more into the occult with building these monsters for Dracula, and it's now become what is known as the Flesh Factory. And the Flesh Factory is it's this big organic thing that is essentially just twisting and contorting and making new monsters from dead flesh. Like every time the monsters kill more people, they come dumping in new material for them. So in here, this is where we meet Alucard, and Alucard is the half brother of Zofia and one of other Dracula's evils, Dark Spawn. Unlike Zofia, Dracula does hate his father, but he's more out for himself, and Zofia wanted to ally with him in order to basically hey, I know you hate me and I know you hate him and you got your own intentions and we'll deal with that later, but I need you now. We need to kill him before we go to war with each other. So so Alucard and Zofia work together to destroy the Flesh Factory. Which they do, and the final Frankenstein is killed, but the Frankenstein monster survives. So now we're getting some wins along the way. This leads us to the Son of Dracula. In Son of Dracula, this film basically would explain Alucard's life. In here, Dracula did come... Alucard is actually the son of Dracula and Mina Harker. Yeah, remember, in Phase 3, Dracula stole Mina in that storyline, and now Mina, basically, she did get away, but she was too ashamed to see Jonathan again, and she basically fled to America, to Louisiana, to raise Alucard to be a weapon to destroy Dracula. So Alucard was trained in the voodoo arts. That's obviously a reference to Son of Dracula and all that. And Mina raised him, but the thing is, he took after more of his father than Mina intended to. Alucard had ambition, and he had drive, and he had a desire to rule, like his father. Even though Mina tried her best, but eventually Alucard grew up, and he did kill Mina. and took all the knowledge of the voodoo priests and priestesses, and now he wants to make his own army. But first, it means working with Zofia in order to kill Dracula. So, we come now to The Creature Walks Among Us. In The Creature Walks Among Us, this storyline involves the Gill Man, who has after being captured by Zofia and Van Helsing, has now basically, they want to use him as an inside job to destroy, to use him as a way to destroy Dracula. So they basically try to use Alucard uses magic and, the occult to try to, mind control the creature, and enslave them to their will. And even a lot of people are like, this doesn't make it, this isn't okay. This is not fine. But however, they do bend the creature to their will and send the creature as their inside spy. However, when the Gill Man returns, the creature basically is found out soon enough by the Wolfman. Remember, Larry decided to kick in with Dracula and the others in order to, he basically realizes humanity's over. So we get a Gill Man Wolfman fight that leaves the Gill Man dead, and the rest of the team, the only solace we can take is that we took a monster off the field, and we know where Dracula's now moved himself, and he's basically moved himself back to to Transylvania, which is now, at this point, between the monsters that Frankenstein made, it didn't matter killing him. I mean, yeah, Wolf von Frankenstein was evil, but the thing of it is, they didn't, the thing is, it kept going. The flesh factories are now being built across Europe, and Europe has basically fallen. It's now a no-go zone. Russia is fighting desperately against the monster hordes, and the reason why it's still going is because Frankenstein imparted his knowledge onto someone else, that being Igor. Yeah, Igor was this Frankenstein's apprentice, who that Frankenstein kept alive after he had his neck snapped by a hangman's noose. So Igor continues the good doctor's work and is now erecting more flesh factories to make for Dracula, and yeah, now they have to go into Europe to fight him. So now we come to our next film, and that is the Mummy's Ghost. In The Mummy's Ghost, here the invasion of Africa has begun as British and African soldiers continue to fight against the monster horde led by Codus, who Codus has basically been promised by Dracula he can have Egypt again, and he can have all of that continent if he can take it. So this movie's all about just one big siege of battling Codus. And also in here, he also has the alliance of, he also has Mr. Hyde with him. He has the Phantom, who, again, he came back as a fucking ghost. So the Phantom, Mr. Hyde, and even the Wolfman as, his acting generals. So this is all about, The Mummy's Ghost is all about the siege of Africa, and Zofia, Alucard, and the others doing battle with Codus as he and his monsters, and even, Codus himself erects monsters from Egyptian mythology, like giant snakes, scorpions. This is just one big action movie. This is like Helm's Deep, but colonial. So eventually Codus is destroyed. And even Mr. Hyde is killed, while the other monsters flee back, and it's like Dracula's like, oh well, it doesn't matter, the world is ours now, as more monsters are flocking to them, like vampires, werewolves, zombies, ghouls, things like all this is flocking to them, and it's just, but Dracula is starting to feel like he's losing allies left and right, and he's basically kind of being put on the knife's edge, as he's excuse me, he's basically like, yeah, nothing can hurt me, I'm invincible, I'm fucking awesome, things like that. But at the same time, Dracula's starting to really feel it, and even Renfield, who's been here the whole time, his right hand man, is like, you might be losing it. we should really like try to take out, you know, the alliance. Your children are waging a successful war against us. Should probably take them out. And Dracula's response to that is just fucking killing Renfield. So we eventually get to the final movie of this, which is House of Dracula. So House of Dracula is like I said, the final film of this dark universe. And yeah, it's a doozy, because now with so many like now that monsters are still ruling over, are still like coming out of the woodwork, there are countries who are still fighting back. Even though most of Europe is gone, you have Russia who is fighting to hold on. You have parts of you have Britain who's doing their best. Even like Africa has basically been holding off the monsters, as well as the Middle East has also been holding their own. America's holding its own for the. You also have Canada, even though there are a lot of Canadian monsters that are like spreading like wildfire. Mexico Mexico and Central and South America have all been like fighting desperately. So it's usually just Central Europe and some of Britain that is gone. India's also gone dark. They know eventually like Dracula has to be defeated. They can keep going, but like a lot of people are projecting like in 5 or 6 years, humanity's going to be enslaved and monsters will rule the world. Like we can keep this war going for like maybe 5 or 6 more years, but the thing is, Dracula's just gonna win. Like he can just make armies out of our dead. So it has to be, we have to like unleash one final attack to stop Dracula and close the gate that's allowing him to pour all these other creatures from beyond the veil into our world. So it becomes one giant siege on Castle Dracula, where everyone comes together. This is like an Avengers Endgames thing, where everyone just rushes in, fight their way. The remaining monsters are killed, or believed to be killed, and eventually they do get to Dracula. Van Helsing, Zofia, and Alucard face him in a 3-on-1, and Dracula does kill Van Helsing. He does get the killing blow, but Alucard tries to manipulate things so Zofia and Dracula dies, and he can become the new lord, the new Lord of the Night, so to speak. But Zofia was like, "I knew you were gonna betray me, and I'm sorry, brother. You know, I was hoping this whole time you could see the light, but it's very clear that like you're just as evil as him. So I wanted you to come here so I could, get rid of you both." And uses a spell from the Scroll of Thoth to like banish both of them into that void and closes it, then proceeds to destroy the scroll. So Zofia and her remaining allies, with the monsters gone, the monsters that have been pouring from that void are phased back, and the vampires and werewolves are now like, vampires, werewolves, and all the other monsters on Earth are like, well, shit, we don't really have a leadership, and mankind can start fighting back and retaking the land they had lost from monsters. But now mankind knows we will forever fear the dark. By the end of it, Zofia is basically granted amnesty for saving humanity, and we also have another thing where I said most of the remaining monsters were killed off, but at the end of it, we follow to like the furthest point of like the Swiss Alps, where we find the Frankenstein monster and the bride together. Like they have their own little home, their own little cottage in the far north, and they're like have a baby together. Yeah, I'll let you have that mental thought to yourself. But yeah, the monsters at the end of the day, the Frankenstein monster and the bride get their they basically get their happy ending. So there you go, guys. That is basically it. Those are all 4 phases. I want to thank you guys for enjoying these videos, and you guys tell me in the comments below what you guys thought of them. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.